type of thing. So I was like, I'll try it and see if I like it. I know Eris likes it, so why don't I try it and see if I like it? I liked them. They were actually really fun. I thought they were going to be shitty because, you know, the whole style of how you play that game is like pattern recognition, you know? And this kind of a secret lure on me, man. I used to play Final Fantasy 14. And when I say I used to play it, I mean I used to actually play it. I was part of Final Fantasy 14 before Realm Reborn. For 2 years, I played it with goons on Something Awful. And I helped them out like a huge deal. I farmed 8 hours a day, like over 8 hours a day. I would just sit there and farm. It was back before I needed to work. My parents supported me, and I was like, shit, I got all this time. I'm going to play this game. And I remember I really wanted to get good at that game. I wanted to hit end game with that game. Damn, I can't see you playing Final Fantasy 14. I was a huge MMO guy back in the day. But I mean like back in the day. I'm talking EverQuest, Ultima Online, Red 15, Meridian 15, Ashron's Call, Dark and Light, which they remade recently. They remade Dark and Light as like a totally different type of concept. Back when I played Dark and Light, it was like a building siege type of thing. You know, my favorite game MMO by far was Dark Age of Camelot. That's actually how I got my name. This is my name that I use. Lothire was the name I came up with for that game. And me and a really good friend of mine, we both got into Dark Age of Camelot like a handful of months after it came out. We just fucking loved it. We couldn't stop RVRing. Realm versus Realm. That was the best fun I ever had. Anyways, Final Fantasy 14, I spent 2 years playing that shit. Yeah, your name is Knightley. It's basically Arthurian legend type of shit, right? It's Anglo-Saxon. It's an Anglo-Saxon name, ye old Anglo-Saxon name. It's a pretty good one. It's made up though. I mean, I don't think there's a history of Lothires or anything, but it has that. It was actually the name of Loth. There was like a Lothric or a Lothranzo or something like that. And then later on, I was spamming the random name generator. And it like there was a Loth. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then there was a bunch of names that ended in IRE. So just like ire. So like Bowls of Ire or something like that. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I like that Loth thing. What if I took Loth and added the ire and then I got Lothire? And I was like, wow, I like it. Let's go with that. And then I made a mercenary and he dual wielded and he had chain armor. And it was the coolest fucking thing I ever played. Anyways, Final Fantasy 14, that was super cool. I played that for 2 years back before it turned into Realm Reborn. My friend tried to get me into 14. I got Stormblood, made it to 70, and never renewed sub. Yeah, it's really not. The thing is like before it was Realm Reborn, right? Final Fantasy 14. I'm basically done with this stream. I'm just kind of chatting your ass off right now. When Final Fantasy 14 first came out, it was basically Final Fantasy 11, which essentially meant that you couldn't do anything. I don't know. You probably weren't. I guess I'm assuming that a friend tried to get you into it, so you probably weren't there for before Realm Reborn. But when I say that this game was old school, 14, like we are talking old fucking school. It had a system in place that actively stopped you from leveling up. It stopped you. You could only grind the mobs for like 2 or 3 hours, and then bam, it was done. You were done. You couldn't level up anymore. That was it. You were no longer allowed to level up because you were leveling too fast. Yeah, it was super shitty before. So it's kind of a hard. It is, you know, it's one of those things where like modern day, we're talking like modern day shit, right? Yeah, it is shitty by modern day standards. However, there was something really cool about it, and I want to tell you it because it's something that is really neat to me. I think it's really neat. Back when Final Fantasy XIV first started, before Realm Reborn, me and a handful of goons from Something Awful, we got together and ran in there. Now, I never ran with goons in an MMO other than Lord of the Rings Online, which I really like playing. I kind of regret dropping that one. I ran with goons in that one for a while, and then I ran with them in EverQuest 2 for a while as well. They were good people. I thought it was pretty cool. So when Final Fantasy XIV hit, I ran with them in there. However, even though I joined them, I never really interacted with the group. In fact, the group, in Final Fantasy XIV, the group and the way that you wanted to play it was very symbiotic. You either were a class that grinded mobs or you were a crafting class that grinded crafting. Or you were a gathering class that grinded gathering. So there were the people who would gather resources, crafters who would use the resource, and then adventurers who also generated a different kind of resource. Well, everything you wanted to do in that game, crafting-wise, required crystals. And you needed 1 million crystals in order to craft anything at all. You needed 1 million of them just to craft a thing. You needed a dozen millions of them in order to level up your craft. So, here I am. I'm trying to play this game, but I'm not really integrated with the group, right? I'm just doing my own thing. That's kind of how I do my MMOs. And the group was very organized. The goons were just like, okay, we're going to have this guy over here do some shit. We're going to have this guy over here. He's going to be the crafter for this. I'm going to craft that. And so these guys worked together. And so the system was in place where a leather worker would make a piece of something. The cloth guy would make a tailor guy would make a piece of cloth. The armor smith would make a piece of metal. These 3 parts together form one item. So one guy makes a part, one guy makes a part, one guy makes a part. Boom. The item is now made. You got a chest piece or some shit. You got a foot. You got a shoe. That's how it was. It was complicated. It required numerous reliance, symbiotic relationship with all these crafters. Yeah, I'm not kidding. You needed that. So the idea behind it was very simple. Every crafter needs every other crafter. So you wanted to keep your prices low so that you could work with the other crafters to make the things you all needed. It became very personal. It was very organized and very communal. At the same time, in order to fuel all this crafting, you needed crystals. Well, crystals came out in the form of killing monsters. In fact, monsters dropped a shitload of crystals. But even though they dropped a shitload of crystals, there were different type of crystals, and different monsters dropped different types. So here I am, right? My crafter goon guys, they're doing their thing, and they're all organized. They're working together to craft, and they're doing really well. But there is this dearth of crystals. They are starving for crystals. They need fucking crystals. I don't know any of this. I'm just playing Final Fantasy XIV the day it comes out, right? I'm playing it in the beta. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Let's play it. And so I start playing it. I play a gladiator, who is a tank, and I start grinding on these marmot things, the little squirrels, right? I'm grinding off on these marmots, and I realize that there is a shit ton of these guys, and nobody's killing them. Everybody's trying to kill these things called coblins, which are weaker than marmots. They're weaker than the squirrels. They do less damage, they have less health, so everybody's going for coblins. They ain't killing the squirrels. So I'm like, alright, I'm going to kill these squirrels, because there's a ton of them, and I can knock them out. That's what I start doing. So, sorry, I started hearing shit outside. It's really stormy out. So I start knocking these guys out. I start getting crystals, right? And I have like 1 million of 2 or 3 different types of crystals. And I'm like, what do I do with these things? I've never seen a crystal before. I have no idea what to do with them. I'm going to sell them to NPCs, right? So I start selling them to NPCs. And the NPCs are giving me some pretty decent cash. It's not too bad. I'm like, all right, I'll just kind of skim off the top because I'm hitting a cap, right? The cap is 999 at that time. You can only get 999 crystals. And you need upwards of like hundreds of thousands. I'm not kidding. You needed like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You needed a lot. They eventually bumped it up. But at the time, I had an onion on my belt at the time, which was the style. I had all these crystals and I was NPC selling them, right? And so I start listening to chat a little bit more. The guild is starting to talk a bit. The goons are talking in the link show. And I notice a bunch of talk about crystal. And I'm like, hey guys, what's a crystal? And they're like, oh, it's these things you get from killing monsters. And, virtually everything you do in the game gets you a crystal. But you cap out real easy. And then you got to store it in your bank. And so you can, you got to make up mule characters so that you can give the crystals to your mule characters so that they can hang on to the crystals so you can get more crystals. And we need just 1 million of them. I'm like, are those the things that I'm getting like a bunch of and have been, not sure what to do with? They're like, yeah, hey, who are you, by the way? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just a dude that joined the guild and stuff. They're like, oh, have you been grinding? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of killing people. And they're like, what are you doing with your crystals? I'm like, I don't know. What am I doing with my crystals? Like, I'm not doing anything with them other than selling them to the NPC. And the entire link shell, like, I can't tell you. I mean, the chat was moving. There's probably like maybe 20 of us, right? There's just 20 well-organized goons in this link shell. The chat is moving pretty regularly. And then out of nowhere, as soon as I say, yeah, I've just been kind of skimming off the top, selling them the NPCs to kind of keep the stack low, they lost their shit. They were going to kick me out of the link shell. I'm not even kidding. They were going to kick me out of the guild. They were going to kick me out of the link shell. I couldn't be a goon. They were going to get me banned on the forums, which is in no way related, really, to the guild. You can be a member of something awful and post about cars. Because they got many, many forums for all sorts of things. You could talk about computers, cars, jerking off, real sex dolls, whatever you want. Dragon dildos. You don't have to talk about games. They were going to try and get me off the forums because they were that pissed. And I was like, okay. What if I just give you guys the crystals? And they're like, fuck yeah, you're going to give us the crystals. You're going to give us these crystals. You're going to give us every fucking crystal you ever get in the world. And we're going to give you money. I was like, no. Let me just give you these crystals. Because I seriously am not joking. I have a shit ton of crystals and I keep getting them. And they were like, are you sure? Because that's not how this system works. It's supposed to be symbiotic. And I'm like, well, listen, I'll give you the crystals. And in return, you guys help me out for shit that I need help with. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I got to get shit made. I don't want to buy. You can't buy armor. You can't even buy stuff from NPCs at this time of the game. You need crafters to make it for you. You can't buy even NPC trash loot. You can't do it. Nothing drops. You can't drop gear or random loot. You don't get it. Quests sometimes gave you random loot, but it would be totally unoptimized. It would be a complete trash. It would just be trash. You couldn't even buy an NPC suit. You had to get a crafter to do it. So I'm like, yeah, this guys help me out, hook me up whenever you can. In the far-flung future, you guys will help me out, right? And they're like, hell yeah, we'll help you out. We're the goons. This is the goon guild. We're doing this so that we can help everybody. I'm like, yeah, I'll just give you some crystals. I get hooked up with this dude that I end up like playing the game for like 2 years, and then I leave, and then I come back and do another 2 years back for Rome Reborn. I get hooked up with this guy, Comrade and Oblay or something, and he and I end up just like every day we're talking about shit and all this stuff. We're just doing all this shit. And it starts out by me giving him all these earth crystals, and he is over the fucking moon. He's basically sucking my dick, He's just like, man, you single-handedly boosted me from level 1 to level 30. Single-handedly. You did that. I'm just like, how did I do it? He's just like, the crystals you gave me would have cost me millions and millions of gil. Would have cost me millions. You gave them to me for free. That was like a major energy boost to our crafting ways. And so after I gave it to him, a bunch of other crafters were saying, yo, this guy's giving out free crystals. I need that shit. I need that shit so I can build this shit, so this guy over here can build that shit. So every single day that I logged in and started grinding to get my levels up, I was mostly doing it to get crystals, because now the guild was like breathing down my neck every day. I'm not kidding. These guys were working me like a fucking mule. All right? Like, they were working me like I was a Mexican gardener. And I was running around trying to get all the fucking free oranges I could to give it to my guild. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was being... Every single moment that I was online, it was just a flood of, are you grinding? Do you want help grinding? Do you have crystals? I need some crystals. Can I get some crystals? After a while, like, it became so ridiculous, I had to start charging, because I didn't have any money to do some of the basic stuff in the game I needed to do. So eventually, I started selling the crystals to the guild at, like, less than half of their price. Yeah, it was insane. I became like this drug dealer of crystals of this shit. It was insane. But the cool thing about it is that I was the only person in the guild at the time that was actually leveling up, because you see, I played a guardian, or a gladiator. The gladiator could equip a shield, and if he equipped a shield, this is the fun shit, if you equip a shield, your class changes from gladiator to gladiator/sentinel. You are 2 classes when you equip a shield. Why are you 2 classes when you equip a shield? Fuck if I know. I think what they wanted to do was that if you were a mage and you equipped a shield, you would then be a black mage / sentinel. They wanted a black mage to have shield stuff. I'm not kidding you. They wanted mages that had access to shields have the shield as a class for the mages. It was the most... They were trying to do this weird cross-class bullshit that I have never heard of before in my life. Sounded awesome on paper, but in execution, miserable. Because what it basically was you had a set of abilities that didn't work for your class, period. Didn't help. Did nothing for you. It was bullshit, is what it was. However, Gladiator could use the shield. Gladiator could use the shield abilities. Best of all, no matter how much you grinded, because you had Sentinel on your character sheet, basically, it fucked up with the XP penalty system. So like I said earlier, you could only play for a couple hours before you hit XP cap, right? That wasn't the case for Gladiator. So long as the Gladiator had a shield on, he was Gladiator Sentinel. And for whatever reason, there was a bug where the XP penalty system would cap out at only 10%. So that you would only lose 10% of every XP you got. That's it. It was supposed to go down to 90% after a couple hours. It never does. Because you are two classes rather than one class. So it bugged out the system. You can grind the Gladiator to your heart's content and never have to be capped out by the system. So I take my Gladiator, I grind him like crazy, over 8 hours a day, like seriously putting in the effort. And the whole time I'm getting these crystals, I'm getting, like, every time I get like a big chunk of crystals, I need a big chunk of other type of crystals, so I go hunt down a different monster, and I go grind that fucking monster so I can get that type of crystal that felt these fucking guys will then be satisfied. Then they need a certain type of leather, because on top of getting all these fucking crystals, I gotta get these resources from monsters, right? So I gotta go take out certain type of monsters to get certain type of skins and leathers and drops that then I can give to the crafters, but at the same time, I also gotta get the crystals that are of a different type from other crafters. It was hectic as hell. And to say that I was a linchpin to the whole... I just came in just being a dude, right? I had no plans. And then out of nowhere, the entire goon guild is like, this fucking guy is going to get us to the top. And they put me on a pedestal. They were like, this is the man who does this shit. This is still Final Fantasy XIV, before Realm Reborn. This is how everything worked. And this is how they wanted it. They wanted it to be a very communal thing. They wanted a community to be built where you had to talk to each other. You had to work together just to make the most basic thing. You know, a sword, a pair of pants. In that game, you actually had armor, underwear, underpants, and I believe that was it for every section of the body. So you had pants, shoes, shirt. Basically panties, shirt, and shoes. And then you had the actual armor pieces. So you had, that were actual armor. And then you had in your clothing, those pants and the shirt, those were armor too. Those counted as stats. Those gave you stats. So you had, in order to make that shirt, you needed like 3 different crafting materials of tailor, but you also needed a leather piece because it was a shirt that gave you stats like an armor piece. So you needed a leatherer to like complete the product. It was really bizarre. Yeah, that game was dying really nasty. What is even the point of having money in it? Yeah, that's really, I mean, the point of money really was to facilitate the communal part of it, of everybody working together. Because then the crafter would sell, his stuff really cheap, and then, you could pick out the parts you need. And the idea is that when you make these little parts, you're leveling up your craft. So you make you want to make a basic chainmail shirt, right? You need the armor made, you need the cloth made, you need the leather made. That's generally about it. You just need those 3 people involved. But those 3 people each make a part. So one of those guys is going to make a bunch of undershirts. Another guy is going to make a bunch of chest piece part. And then another guy is going to make a bunch of leather chest piece part. Boom. You have hundreds and hundreds of these individual parts. Sell them on the market because, really, really cheap because everybody's making them. And you level up your craft while you're making these little parts. So ultimately, that was the economy. That's how it worked. You just made these little parts, you leveled up, sold them. and you actually like that. Oh man, listen. So when I was playing this game, right, I had played Final Fantasy 11, but I never got to cap. I got to 40. I got to level 40 Samurai, 40 Warrior, and I could not find a group after that. I remember being a kid playing the game on my PlayStation 2. I actually played on a PlayStation 2 and had a shared account on the PC as well. I played on the PlayStation 2 because I thought that was cool as fuck, that I could play an MMO on my PS2. I still have the box. It's right there and everything. I boxed it up and everything. I still have it. I have the fucking thick-ass hard drive that's only 40 gigabytes with it, too. I'm not kidding. I only got to level 40 for those two classes, and it always bummed me out. I remember 3 days of sitting in Juneau trying to get a party, and nobody would invite me. 3 days. 3 days in a row. I'd spend 3 hours each day. Nobody would invite me. I couldn't stand it. I was so pissed. I never got to cap, and I always felt like it was a stain on my gaming history. So when Final Fantasy XIV came out, and they were like, this game's going to be old school. This is going to be Final Fantasy 11 time. You know, this is old school MMO. It's going to be hard to grind. You're going to be accomplished. If you have a set of chainmail outfit, which is a mid-level, in any other game, you would get a chain, you'd get a set of chain at level 5. In World of Warcraft, you basically come into the game with a set of chainmail. Final Fantasy XIV, when it first came out, a set of chainmail armor was glorious because it represented the work of at least 4 to 5 other classes, crafting classes. And who knows how many people facilitated the parts to do that. Maybe only a few, maybe like a bunch of parts were bought off the auction, you didn't know. But that suit was such a communal piece because everybody had their hand on that piece to make it. And so to make a whole suit of chainmail was just, you were the bee's knees. Literally, people stood around the main area. I think it was like Sandoria or something like that. They would stand around in action stance with their weapon out and just sit there. They would just stand there while people walked by and looked at them in their kick-ass chainmail suit. There's a bunch of level 30s just standing around. Not even a bunch. Literally like 1 or 2 people had it. And I got to be one of those people. I never sat around and just showed off my armor because I had shit to do. My guild was kicking me around. But that's all you did. It was just you just worked together, made this cool outfit, and then you just sat there and people looked at it. I'm not even kidding. Did I actually like it? I kind of did because I really enjoyed how people relied on me, and it was really cool. I thought it was I facilitated this growth in crafting that wasn't there before. And when I unknowingly stepped in, you know, I became this big shot. You know, the guild was like, this is Lothire, man. This is the dude that makes this happen. And it felt good in that sense of community. You know, that sense of community, it felt good. That sounds worse than anything ever. I think by modern standards, it absolutely is the antithesis to what today is. Would you go back? No. There's no way. Like, now that I have a job and everything, there's no way. And plus, I stream. I don't want to stream an MMO. That shit's boring. That's way ass boring. God. I thought about streaming, like, Black Desert Online or whatever it is. Black Sands Online? Black Desert? Whatever. I can't see myself pulling it off. There are some MMOs I'm interested in. I don't think I can do it with my streaming and my work. You know, I just can't do it. Ew. No, I wouldn't go back. I mean, but it was really cool at the time because it was just Black Desert is trash, brew. Yeah, it probably is. But, you know, I used to be a big PvP guy. Dark Age of Camelot was all about PvP. It was RVR, Realm versus Realm. And ever since then, I've had the bug in me to be a player versus player guy in MMOs. So Black Desert was supposed to have that. Black Desert Online was supposed to be part of that. But the problem is after Dark Age of Camelot, which is the absolute epitome of player versus player stuff, nothing's even come close. Warhammer Online got trashed. Didn't come out as good. It was made by the same guys that did Dark Age, and it still was trash. Fucking Star Wars, The Old Republic, that's the online KOTOR. Complete trash for its PvP. Complete trash. Doesn't even have open world PvP. Fucking Dark and Light was a promise. That was trash. World of Warcraft, vanilla World of Warcraft, they had open PvP servers, but it was trash. It was just trash. It was not Realm. It was not Realm versus Realm. It wasn't that. It wasn't Realm Reborn, Realm versus Realm. It just didn't have it. You wouldn't like BDO PvP? I already know. Yeah, I probably wouldn't. That's the thing. I'm interested in checking it out, but I don't even have time. And I would not want to put that on stream. There's just nothing to it. Anyways, Final Fantasy 14 was just, it was what it was at the time. And understand that, like, when I played that, I had just got off all this PvP shit. I just kind of regurgitated on you. So I jumped into a PvE game for 2 years. I did that, the whole thing. I was the first guy in our clique and second guy on the server to hit level 60, to hit cap as a gladiator. I remember it was pretty momentous because I actually wrote a huge blog post. They had a blog. It was called the Lodestone, Final Fantasy 14 Lodestone or something. And I remember I wrote a huge blog post. Was it 50? It might have been 60. I thought 50 was cap. I can't remember what the number is anymore. It was probably 50. But I remember when I hit cap, I made this huge blog post about how it is not worth it. How it is not at all worth it to try and reach cap. That is just, it's not worth it. The amount of time to do it is just, it was abysmal. And it was one of the higher viewed posts on the Lodestone. It was very popular because not a lot of people who hit cap talked about it. Mostly because a lot of people who hit cap were Spurglords. So I was interested in relaying what I'd done. You know, like I'm telling you all this stuff, right? I wanted to tell everybody, you know, I became this guy that all the crafters looked up to. They were like, I provided. I was a provider. You know, it was almost like a family thing. For a while there, I kind of felt like I was feeding a family. Just a bunch of crystals and dead bird parts. Dead bear asses. You know, I had to collect 10 bear asses and give it to my crafter in order for my kids to eat, you know. So my tailor could make a bear butt. And then he could put it on his head, you know. It was just this weird communal thing. Any case, I mean, the thing is I created a lot of cool connections with a lot of people. And the game kind of evolved over the year or so that it became less strict about the whole crafting thing. They loosened up the rules. They made it so crystals were easier to get and yada yada. But we did really go. That was really like, there's like a bunch of milestones in that game even before Realm Reborn came out. That I kind of was like this. It was a really big thing that happened to me. I don't know how to really explain it without sucking my own dick. But it was basically just something. I had basically 2, maybe 3 things happen before Realm Reborn landed that were like really momentous things. And that first one that I just talked about, being like the crafter guy, that was one of them. That was the first one. Just being the guy to facilitate the crafters. I was one of the first guys to hit cap. I was one of the first guys to get a bronze set of plate armor, which at the time was like, nobody had that. It was crazy. Were you there for the server close? I was not there for the server close, no. What ended up happening was after about 2 years of playing it, I remember at the time Garuda had come out. I know, bronze, right? It's fucking crazy. Garuda as a summon came out. We had already been dealing with Ifrit for a while, and then Garuda came out. And a couple of things had happened like before that point where the leader of these goons, he was a nice guy, but he was very adamant about having a very tight group do things. And he was a gladiator. And I had beaten him to cap, and he hated it. He hated me for that. He didn't hate me for it, but he hated the fact that he was not the first gladiator in our guild to hit cap. So he hated that. He kind of held that against me. And so when he started doing endgame stuff, he was the planner before I ever showed up. I basically got kicked to the curb. Even though I got all this cool gear and I was decked out, it didn't matter because he was the tank. And so that basically ended that, you know. It was done and done. He was the organizer too, so all the goons followed him in order to do shit. Jelly, and pretty much. I mean, I kind of stepped in out of nowhere and did all this cool shit, whereas he's over behind the scenes doing all the like posting about strategy and stuff. So he did a lot of work. It wasn't like I did all the work and then he stole the glory. He was doing a lot of work too. So at the time, I didn't think really anything of it. I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to tackle Ifrit the way I want to, or Garuda. You know, I can't play the end game because I had a group. I don't have a group, is how it ended up being. It was so hard just to do anything against Ifrit in my position that I couldn't do anything against Garuda either. And I had only barely won a few times against Ifrit back in the day. Back in the day, you had so much to worry about. Lag, when you moved your character, you didn't move at the same time. So your servers were settled in Japan. So Ifrit would do his line attack, his linebacker attack, and you would move out of that shit. 2 seconds ago, you were still standing in the way. But on your screen, you're way off the fucking distance. You ain't anywhere near it. But in Japan, you were fucking 2 seconds behind and you were in that shit and you die. It was awful. It was really awful. Heard about that too, yeah. There was a shitload of problems with that game. There was a shitload of like actual legit problems, and then there was a shitload of design decisions that were just pants on head retarded. The second, man, I could talk about this all day. I don't want to fucking chew your ear off though. I mean, I really enjoy talking about this shit, but I enjoy talking about video games in general. That's what used to make Titan hard. You're right. That's exactly what made Titan hard. Even in Realm Reborn, that made Titan hard. They never really got around to fixing that as good as I think they really needed to. But they did eventually get pretty good at it. I mean, they made it better. I remember they made it better. They definitely made it much better at one point. Maybe nowadays it's like not even a thing anymore. I don't know. I haven't played. I haven't played since turn 1 through 5 was the only ones available in Coil. So like Coil beyond turn 5, which was what was her name? I forget her name. That the dragon, the weird dragon. I forget her name. That was a really big story too. I have like two or three stories from before Realm Reborn, and then I had 2 or 3 stories in Realm Reborn as well before I quit playing that too. All of which were like major milestones for me, I really got into that game. I gave it 4 years of life. Like, that's a long time. Twin Tania, yeah, that chick. Me and my group managed to beat her right before they did the adjustments to her wind mines. She would plant invisible landmines during one of her phases, and it wasn't actually invisible. It would spawn and activate before you could see it. And what you had to do was walk in a pattern away from everybody else, because it used to be that she would plant that shit where you're running to. So it would actually place ahead of you and then you'd run into it. You had to time it so that you ran forward, juked back, and then ran forward again. But what was a better tactic was to run forward in a random direction and then juke off into any left, right, or anywhere. Just left, right. As long as it was like a 90-degree bend right on the spot, you would be good. Because it increased the likelihood that she plants that damn thing somewhere ahead of you while you're turning, so that you wouldn't have to worry about it. It was really hard to do. You had to have the timing down. That's really all it was. Eventually, they nerfed it so that she actually drops it on top of you. And because if she drops it on top of you while you're running already, you just walk right through it. It doesn't fire off because it takes a moment for it to actually load up the mine. And you're fine. You just had to make sure everybody splued out. They had to starburst out away from the fucking each other, because if you cross paths with each other, there was a strong chance you were going to step on top of your other guy's landmine and fuck everything up. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we beat her. We beat her before the next phase came out, but that was it. I quit after we did a couple of the bosses in the new phase, in the second phase of stuff, and then we just quit. I quit actually. My the buddy that I was with, Conrad, was with me the entire time. So back before Realm Reborn, after I did all this crafting stuff and everybody was like dope, right? There was a second cool thing that happened. I'm sorry if this is boring as hell. Pretty sick. I mean, it was really fun. It was the highlight of like my PvE MMO stuff. And I think Final Fantasy XIV might have been the last MMO I played. Now I'm thinking about it. I can't remember what the last one was. I might have fucked around with some other shit. Basically, before Realm Reborn, after I become the crafter guy, right? After I became this big guy, I hit cap, and then all my crafter dudes are pretty much settled, right? Eventually, the demand dies down. At this point, I had made a bunch of friends, I had made some groups, we had done a bunch of things, and shit was good. But now, we were kind of settled in, everybody had their gear, and everybody except me was tackling endgame. I didn't have anything to do. I was so used to being the guild's mule for crystals and loot and crafting and needs, fulfilling needs. I'd been so used to it. I didn't really know what to do when I was done. I couldn't engage in the end game because I didn't have a group to run with. It just was kind of sad. So if I wanted, at the time, if I actually wanted to run with anybody, I needed to roll a class that nobody had, and that was basically a healer. So I tried to come up with different ways of leveling a class people needed, like the white mage or something, and it was quite difficult. Things weren't going very well, and it was really hard to grind because they had done away with completely the penalty system. But even though they did that, they did a bunch of weird shit. Incomes are really cool. This is the second milestone, and this one's really fucking neat. I made a buddy, Makaho, and he was Canadian, just like good old Lord of the Chaos, right? Now, that Makaho is this cool, chill Canadian that I loved hanging out with. He played a monk, and he played a pugilist. Eventually, they'd be made monk. And I played a gladiator. Now, he was in the same situation I was. He leveled up, managed to hit cap eventually, and then he didn't have an endgame. So we were both kind of like, well, what do we do? We just didn't know what to do. And we were like, why don't we try and level our other classes off of each other? Why don't we try and group up and try and do some shit? At the same time, we did this a couple times before because we found out that if you kill something when you're grouped, each of you get like a random roll on the loot table. So you get more crafting gear that way. Fucking kill a dodo, get dodo balls, you get a shot at dodo balls, and everybody in your group, each one of them individually gets a shot at dodo balls. So there's a strong chance you both walk away with a pair of dodo testicles. It's pretty nice. In any case, we finally group up together and we try and do it not for the loot, but for XP. And we try all sorts of shit and nothing's really working out. In comes a new patch. It's a new patch that's supposed to help encourage people grouping up together to gain XP. Because otherwise, the way that the system is that you'd group with someone and it would more than half your XP. You'd have to go kill something that was 3 times your level, that took more than 3 times the time and effort to kill, just to get the same amount as XP you would get if you went and killed a fucking marmot in 3 swings while you were on your own. It was broken. It was awful. Awful party system. Well, they completely revamped the party system. Well, that sounds great. Let's go check this out. Me and Makaho, we go running around. We kill some shit. We realize, wow, we're getting full XP for killing things that aren't even our level. Me and Mac in the same group. And we're like, wow, that sounds pretty good. Hey, what would happen if we went and killed these pigs that are 4 levels underneath us? Wild boars out in the forest. Nobody knows where this shit is. Nobody goes there. There's no reason you would go there. Other than to kill the boars, which drop some crafting materials that you can get from easier monsters. What if we were to go beat those up? Yeah, okay, let's go do that. We go beat them up. Same deal. Getting full XP, pretty good stuff. I'm like, yeah, alright, we're both getting some crafting goods. It's a good deal. What if one of us played a class that was way, way, way down there? Let's say level 7. Now, we're talking about level, I don't know, I guess 50 was the cap, right? So, we're talking pigs that are level 46. I'm level 50. And then Makaho switches over to level 7 Bard, right? He ain't gonna do shit, right? That's wacky shit. There's nothing he can do. I grab a bunch of boars. I kill them all. He gets max level experience for it. Plus, he gets bonus experience for being in a party. He gets my level of experience. So rather than hitting the cap for him, rather than, let's say, 200 experience, he kills a red level 3, a thing that's 3 levels higher than him. He kills it. He gets 200 XP. He doesn't get that. He gets my cap, which is more like, I don't know, 10,000 XP or some shit. He can buff. He could buff if he wanted to, I suppose. However, he doesn't need to, because I can kill a pig that he is grouped with me with, and he could get more XP than he could ever get on his own. Not just per kill, but like the pace by which we kill. This is power leveling on a level that I had never seen before in my life. He was like, dude, you kill 10 minutes worth of pigs and I get 3 to 4 levels. You gotta keep in mind that before then, the only other class I had cap was Gladiator. It took me 2 months. It took me 2 months to get my Gladiator to level cap, the level 50. Now I'm in a group with Makaho's character class 7, and in 10 minutes he reaches level 10. In like not even a half hour's time, he gets to level 20. In probably an hour's time, he gets somewhere 25 to 30. I'm not kidding. Somewhere around level 30 is when the decline where it really started to decline. But he was still making hand over fist way more XP with the party than ever on his own. Power leveling. It was power leveling on a scale that I had never seen before. Never, ever even witnessed. Now, this is great because we both want our classes leveled up, right? So every hour we would change places. We'd just go sit on a log, AFK, walk away from our computer while the other guy just rounds up boars and kills them. It's easy peasy, no problems. We've never had any problems, nothing. Nobody came out there. Shit was just straight money. Shit was just straight cash money. We were in the split. That shit was dope. And we just did that for like a couple days, 2 or 3 days, right? After about the 3rd day, we got all our classes like really level 30 or something, right? So now the real grind kind of starts to kick in. Yeah, we're making a lot more XP, but it's going to take a while. Level 30 to 40, it's going to take, a handful of hours. We're still like, blowing our minds, right? We've only been at this a few days. On the 3rd or 4th day, we go to our spot, right? We ain't even telling goons about this shit. We don't want anybody knowing about it. We get to this spot, and there's a fucking Lothire killing our boars. From another link shell called Tomberry Society. The Tomberry Society. And I'm like, what is this fucking schmuck doing in our spot? And Mac's like, let's fucking kick him out. We're going to go in there and beat up all the boars, and this fucking guy ain't going to do shit. He's in one Lothire. What the fuck is this guy going to do? Against a cap-level gladiator, cap-level pugilist. This guy's going to shit his pants and go cry to the devs is what he's going to do. And I'm like, hang on. Let's not do that. Let's invite him to our group and see if he wants to power level both of us. And while he does that, we will give him the crafting drops that drop from the enemy, that drops from the pigs. He's like, that's dope. Let's do that. So we talked to this guy, never met him before in our lives. Random dude, random Lothire in our spot. We're like, hey man, we were hoping we can level here. Would that be cool? He's like, yeah, that's cool. I'm just trying to get these pigs drops, craftable stuff for my link shell. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Listen, let's group up, and whatever I get, whatever crafting shit I get, I'm going to give it to you. And my buddy's going to do the same thing. So, now, like I said before, everybody in the party gets a shot at loot. So, some guy gets dodo testicles, I get the dodo's butt. It's a random loot. For everybody gets a random. Maybe we both get testicles. Maybe nobody gets testicles. You never know. But everybody gets the roll on that fucking table. Individually. So this guy gets to triple his chances at getting craftable goods. He's going to get more craftable goods by having me and Makaho in this party. All the while, he's doing all the work, me and Mac are sitting naked, because we don't got any gear for our classes, sitting in the back tunnel, just watching him pull pigs all day. And we start talking to the guy. We're like, yeah, we've had this place for a while. You're the first guy we've seen here in 3 days. And then blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I didn't think anybody would be out here. And so we're getting along. We're all chummy. And the guy's like, you guys are a couple cool guys. This is really fun. I want to come back here and do this some more. And we're like, yeah, you're always welcome back. We'll do this more. He's like, I'm more than happy to power level you guys. You can keep the crafting goods. You don't even have to give them. I'm like, no, let me give you this shit. And then Mac's like, yeah, I'll keep that shit. Fucking, you can do it. He's like, he's a little more. But I'm an ambassador of goodwill, right? I'm like, no, I said I'd do it. And I gave it to him. The next day, he comes back. He's got a wife. Him and his wife are farming the pigs. And so me and Makaho show up, and we're like, oh, you're at it. He's like, yeah, come join the party. Me and my wife. Come meet the wife. I'm like, all right, we'll meet the wife. Fucking shake hands with the wife. She's a cool chick. He's a cool guy. Whatever. We sit in the tunnel butt naked, sitting with the wife. Wife sitting there butt naked. She's on another class. Fucking guys pulling pigs all day. That's what we're doing all day. We're sitting with this dude's wife naked in a tunnel while he pulls pigs all day. Fucking sat there for hours. So a problem starts coming up. Somebody has got a leaky mouth. And this secret little area of ours starts leaking out. People are getting kind of smart. They're getting a little smart up about how you can group with the party and fucking get a bunch of XP for it, and you can get a high level guy power leveling you with other animals, with them kind of taking on things and you just chilling out in the back. People are catching on. Well, our goon guild catches on, and our goon guild's numbers started to swell because we got a bunch more goons now, especially now that we're up in the higher ranks and we got all the gear and all the crafters are done and they can make whatever you want. The Goon Guild set everybody up. Everybody got a fucking ride. So we've got a lot of new guys. We got a lot of low-level guys that start realizing that we're power leveling. They're like, oh, shit. Hey, buddy, I heard you doing some power leveling. How about you sneak my fucking ass in there? And I'm like, oh, yeah, come on over. Fucking hang out with the pigs. You can check out this dude's naked wife. Let's hit this up. Let's get some shit on. Let's get it going. Let's get it snapping. Let's get it popping. So everybody in the Goon Guild is hitting up me and Mac at our pig location while we're hanging out with this random Tomberry Society dude and his naked wife. Killing pigs all day. I've never met any of these dudes. We're all sitting here. This is literally 2 days after, the 3 days that we found the place. Within 2 days, the secret's out. Everybody knows. And me and Mac are just kind of like, man, remember when this was our spot? Remember when this was our spot? Certain people couldn't be let in. Remember certain people? They weren't allowed in here. We were just like, this is crazy. What happened? Oh, so this guy, this Tomberry guy, all right, the story doesn't end here. We get a lot of XP doing this, right? And apparently it gets so popular amongst our Link show, a bunch of goons. It gets popular with the Tomberry Society guys too. So popular, in fact, that our goon guys were talking with Tomberry Society guys a lot. Like, our dudes were mixing with their dudes. It became this weird, again, this weird communal thing started happening where our two independent guilds were almost allied in this sense, right? So now here comes the interesting bit. The guy who leads the goons, who kicked me out because, he's the guy who plans the goon stuff. He didn't kick me out, but he's the raid leader, blah, 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 etc., right? He's the guy in charge. He hangs out with us in this party. He hung out with this Tomberry guy. Well, he and this Tomberry guy got to talking. They decided to form an official alliance between our two guilds, because we needed more raid-capable individuals in order to engage with the end-game content of the game. And that end-game content was starting to spill over into things like relics and stuff. It was moving beyond the summons, and they were going to be more content for endgame. We needed more bodies. So Tomberry Society guy and his naked wife talk to our guild leader of the goons and say, fuck yeah. Like, 75% of the Tomberry guys already know 70% of you fucking goons. Let's just hook up and get to making some babies or some shit. Whatever it is. Like, they just, the next day, within 1 week's time period, me and Makaho managed to power level all our classes up to near cap and managed to forge an alliance with a whole nother entity of people that no other goons had ever even seen or heard of. All because we're sitting here 8 hours a day killing a bunch of pigs and power leveling random people and getting all this crafter loot and giving it to them. So this key fundamental moment. Do we kill this Lothire? Kick him the fuck out of our spot? Or do we make with the chummy chum, rub each other's dicks, and fucking see what happens? Well, we rubbed each other's dicks, and so all of a sudden we have two guilds that are lined up together. All this sparked from a fucking Lothire just sitting in the corner. He was in our fucking spot, man. I just, like, Bagaho was like, just fucking pull all the pigs, man. He's a goddamn Lothire. What is he gonna do? He's like, he's not gonna do anything about it. He's gonna bitch about it and then leave. He's gonna go make a post on Reddit. Some shit. And I'm like, wait. Let's talk to him. At the time, I'm like, let's just talk to him. And so, accidentally talking to him caused an alliance between the two things. It was weird as hell. It was the weirdest thing. But what ended up happening was that because of this union between the two sides, we actually ended up doing a lot better in the endgame content. And I actually managed to get a group. Thanks to this union, I got a group in with the Tomberry Society guys, and I could finally do endgame content. It was really nice. And because of this bug between leveling up, I leveled up all my classes to cap except for one. I didn't get the Bard. I did not, no. Two. I didn't do the Lancer, and I didn't do the Bard. I got them up to like 30, and then I didn't do them. I ended up finishing them in Realm Reborn when that came out. But that's it. That's it. That was somewhere after that. I mean, that is such a huge thing, right? I mean, I was the crafting guy, and I was super dependent, and then that got done, and then out of nowhere, I got this other alliance with this other group of people nobody ever met, and then they meet together, we start talking, and then everything works out, and now we're doing really good in the endgame content because we have a fresh injection of high-level players that all... They just needed more people. They needed more different classes, variety of classes and shit. It's communal. Like, that's the thing that you could take away from both stories, is that Final Fantasy XIV used to be very much about communal shit. It just was all about talking. You really needed to talk to people, forge relations and shit, fucking sit in a tunnel with some dude's wife naked while killing boars. That's what the devs wanted. The devs wanted that. Some devs in Japan sat in the office room and said, we gotta get this guy naked with this other dude's wife. They're gonna forge an alliance together. It's gonna be tight. That's what the Japanese people were talking about. TeamSpeak, we used TeamSpeak? No, we used Ventrilo. I think. Don't think we used TeamSpeak. This is a wacky times, right? Anyways, I mean, that was it. I think that was it. I don't really think anything else really happened. Before Realm Reborn, that was basically the two big things that happened to me. Was that the crafting thing, how I basically got everybody their crafting levels, and then the union with the Tomberry Society, and then that was it. And keep in mind, I wasn't even an officer or anything at the time. I wasn't an officer or anything. That actually happened in Realm Reborn. And just to kind of give you the scope, I don't know if you even know about Something Awful Goons or what, Tulad, but when we were in before Realm Reborn, there was probably like 50 to 100 of us. When we moved to Realm Reborn, we had 2 to 3 link shells of just goons. That's 200 people per link shell. So we had over 400 goons. Shit was crazy. Nothing on a scope that big. It was really crazy though. Legend. I mean, it was the coolest thing because it could have gone anywhere. I guess that's why I liked it, because it could have gone anywhere. Anyways, I mean, it was a shitty... Here's the thing, though. It was a shitty game, so you really needed this kind of thing to make it something fun. These are two really cool stories, but I gotta put emphasis here. 2 really cool stories mired, completely surrounded by pools of literal shit. Most days, I would just log in for 8 hours grinding something, and that's it. It was boring. It was boring. It was awful. I don't know why I was such a spurg about it, but I actually treated it like a job. I'd cancel meetings. I wouldn't hang out with friends. I would just fucking do it. So I wanted to. And that was that. Is a link shell guild. Yeah, the link shell is basically the guild. You get a link shell, you get a link pearl, and then you equip it, and then the name over your head says link. It says guild, says a link shell. It's a guild, is basically what it is. And you can all chat with that pearl. You could chat in the link shell. That was basically your guild. The cool thing about it is basically if you equip a pearl for a link shell, you are part of that link shell. But you can unequip that pearl and then grab a pearl from a different link shell, and now you're with that link shell. So we would have a Goon Guild link shell, the main one, but then we would have a Goon Guild link shell for crafters. And then you could also, Tomberry Society, you could be part of them. Get one of their link shells, and you can equip that, and now you're with Tomberries. You could talk to those guys. You know, it was whatever link shell you had active was the guild that you were a part of at the time. You had multiple link shells, you had multiple guilds. That's how it was. And you could switch between each one, whichever one you wanted to rep and whichever you wanted to talk into. I think in Realm Reborn, they simplified the process. So, Goon? Let me click that shit. Mortal Flames Allied Goon Squad? That sounds like Goon Squad, yeah. They were supposed to be Immortal Flames. Yeah, they are Immortal Flames. I don't actually know if this is it. Goon Squad? I forget what it was. I don't think it's Goon Squad, actually. What was it called? What was our name in the other one? Such a long time ago. I don't even remember when it happened. You can look up, why don't we look, is this the lodestone? No, this is not the lodestone. Can you do a character search? Put in Lothire. I put in Lothire Cross. I'm going to do that. Lothire Cross. Does he show up? Hey, there he is. Lothire Cross on Excalibur. Level 50 Paladin. Yeah, that's my dude. That's my boy. Copy. Look at this old ass shit here. Look at this old ass shit. This is back when I actually here. It doesn't say what yeah, it doesn't actually say what I got there, does it? It doesn't say what link shells I have. Man, I'm still alive there. Yeah, you're right. It was cap 50. Look at that. Look at that. I don't have Samurai, I don't have Rogue, I don't have Mechanist, and I don't have Red Mage. That all came out later. And I don't have any crafting classes. You see the highest one I got was 32 Blacksmith. That's only because back in the day you had to repair your armor. And I couldn't do it. The secret to crafting back in the day was to have Netflix. I didn't have Netflix. Dark Knight? Wow, I don't have Dark Knight or Astrologian. Oh, wow. I don't even know what these classes are. I've never even heard of them. I got everybody else. They're all in dark armor, too. Back when, I don't know. I don't even know if you remember. Doesn't even show the equipment. Yeah. All the gear he's wearing should be from Alamegan, whatever. From turns 1 through 5. What do they call it? Coil. It should be all coil equipment. Alamigo. That everybody else had. All my other classes had either Crystal Tower stuff or had the dark shards, dark stone stuff. Yeah, that one, Alamigo. I think that's what they called the armor that dropped out of coil, turn 1 through 5. I'm pretty sure that's what they called it. That's what you're looking at there. Used to be the best gear you could get, but obviously, ever since other turns have come around. Yeah, eventually, Realm Reborn was cool. I liked it a lot, but you know, it became the treadmill of like, you've got the gear, now go take care of the boss. You took care of the boss, here's some cooler gear. Keep doing this until a bigger boss comes out. Alright, a bigger boss is out. The gear you got is going to give you a little bit of an edge. Go ahead and take on the new boss. You took out the new boss, good shit. You're going to have to grind this new boss if you want the gear. You got the gear? Alright. Keep grinding the boss. Maybe you can get some gear for your other classes. Wait for the new boss. You know, it just became very circular. And after a while, after the first 5, you know, beating Twin Tanya was like the highest. It was like one of the highest honors you could get at the time. And I felt like it was not going to be. I felt like the best thing that we could possibly do is relive that glory, and I didn't want that. I felt like I had achieved something killing Twin Tanya when we did, because less than 12% of the game's population had done it at the time, and I was like, damn, that's really good. Less than 12% had taken out Twin Tanya back before any other turns, when she was the last turn, and we were part of that 12%. And I'm like, all right. I'm happy with that. I'm just going to walk away. And then my comrade buddy, he had to go to college in Quebec. He actually lived in Quebec. It was kind of weird. Now it's Ultimate Bahamut. Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen anything in the last few, I don't know, year or two. Stormblood or whatever. I hear people aren't too happy about it, but at the same time, it seems like the game is doing better than WoW, isn't it? It seems like it's beating World of Warcraft. It's so weird to think about that. World of Warcraft has been around for centuries, man. When I quit playing Dark Age of Camelot, I did so because I moved on to World of Warcraft. That was the new hot shit back when that came out. I was really disappointed because the PvP was nowhere near as fun. It's better than WoW in my opinion. I think a lot of things are better than WoW. I never felt World of Warcraft was good. I always felt it was cheap. I always felt that it was simply a legacy game that people just love the Warcraft series about. I think the only reason it hit it big was because Blizzard, sold out as hard as they could, and it had the Warcraft logo, and that was it. It was Blizzard. It was Warcraft, and that was it. I always felt that was the only hype train that it had. It appealed. It did absolutely, it gutted every essence that there is to an MMO to appeal to the casual audience as much as humanly possible. I feel like it just wasn't good. It just wasn't good. It was ridiculous balance notions, and just, man, it really aggravated me the way that they balanced that game. I hated it. Mages were just killer all the time. Mortal Strike was killer for a while. Fucking druids were insane. Like, it's just nothing ever made sense in that game. It was really just a crockpot of fucking crazy ass shit. No, I have no love for World of Warcraft. I hated it. You gotta understand, World of Warcraft came by and killed the game I loved, which was Dark Age of Camelot. Because at the time, Dark Age of Camelot had about 200,000 players. 200,000 players. That is a fuckload of players. 200,000 players? Shitload. You know who had 200,000 players? EverQuest. EverQuest had that shit. Not even Ultima Online had that many people. EverQuest had that much, and then Dark Age Camelot had that much. And before those, other than those two games, I don't think anybody ever hit those numbers. Then World of Warcraft came out, over 1 million subscribers. I just about threw my fucking office chair when I heard that shit. I was like, how could people play this garbage? How can people play this garbage? Casualized garbage. It's so hold my hand, baby wham. There was nothing to it. There was no grind. There was no loot. There was no end game. It's a big pile of nothing. No PvP, no realm versus realm. It was just miserable. It was a miserable fuck pile of Warcraft lore that they completely destroyed. They completely destroyed and retconned all the lore that made it fucking fun. Hated it. And it's the most popular thing on the planet. At least it was. I don't think it is anymore. Well, maybe it still is. I don't know. I don't hear about it anymore. I actually went back to play World of Warcraft with the Lich King. I went back and played with Lich King. I had my real life buddy who was in the Dark Age with me. He was like, "Hey, come back with me and play Lich King with me." It was still, I played it for 2 months and beat the Lich King and all that shit. And I was like, man, this game was trash. This game was trash. Although I did like the Death Knight. I'll give it up. I like the Death Knight. That was pretty cool. I like that class. It was super cool. Other than that, game was trash. Man, this has been fun. I'm fucking flushed that shit. Man, this is great. I'm glad I was able to talk to you about this shit. I don't get to talk to people about video games. I really don't. This is cathartic as hell, man. When I'm at Walgreens, like, nobody fucking talks about it. The only person that ever talked about video games at work was this one chick who doesn't work there anymore. She quit, basically, after, like, fucking 7 years of working there. She's very young. She was, like, 22 or something. 22 years old. And she has a Nintendo Switch. And she plays Zelda and she plays Mario. That's it. But she was also a nerd, though. She browsed websites and stuff. She knew about 4chan and everything. And, yeah, she told me a few things, too. She told me how she likes to get off. It was pretty cool. Unfortunately, she fucking did not play video games. Bitch knew about Zelda and Mario, and that was it. Sucked. It sucked. But she was a nerd, so that was kind of cool. She was hot as hell, too. Like, disturbingly hot. But she used that to her advantage a lot. Why wouldn't you? Any case, after she left, I got fucking nobody to talk to about video games. I got nobody. I try and talk Tekken and shit, and nobody's like, what the fuck? The hell's a Tekken? What is that? They have no idea. Oh, man. I played a lot of shit, dude. But, you know, video games used to be fun. You've probably played a lot of shit. You seem to have followed that Final Fantasy 14 shit. You must have really been into it for a while. I know a couple people do. I still have buddies that are on my Steam list from Final Fantasy 14. I still have a buddy. When I did World of Warcraft, in Dark Age of Camelot, I did so good in Dark Age of Camelot. There was in Dark Age, you had 3 factions, right? You had Albion, you had Midgard, and you had Hibernia. There was a group in Midgard that were fucking seriously cool, and they always player realm versus realm. They always RVR'd. So I fucking love when they hit me up. I was like, fuck yeah, I always see you guys out there. They were like, hey, we're gonna go over to World of Warcraft. Come with us. We like you. You're a cool guy. We fucking fought a million times out in the frontiers. Come hang out with us. Let's go play World of Warcraft together. I'm like, fuck yeah. The guy who leads that group, Shadow Gypsies, I think they're called, Mance, he's a fucking cool guy. I actually shared numbers with him and everything. He was like a real life pal of mine, basically. He lives down in Reno. I'm up here in fucking Washington State, right? Near Seattle. We are really far apart. But holy shit, that dude was awesome, and we hung out all the time, and we fucking played MMOs like crazy. We would always pair up and go PvP. It was the funnest thing. When you have a buddy to play MMOs with, it just takes it all to a new level. It's super cool. My friends mostly told me about the history of 14. It's a weird history. It was a weird history. I mean, it was cool. When they closed the game, they closed the game for like 2 years before Realm Reborn came out. I didn't think I was going to go back to Realm Reborn. I thought I was done. But, all my friends hit me up again and were like, why don't you fucking play that shit? And I wasn't streaming at the time. I'm like, yeah, alright, I'll do it. That's fun. Yeah, you really gotta have buddies for the MMOs. Man, it's late. You gotta go at work or something, man? You gotta go to bed or something? Like, fucking, it's 5:51 a.m. I think I just spent an hour talking about Final Fantasy 14 with you. How the fuck did that happen? Damn, this stream is totally... This stream is so different from Eris's stream. I can't even believe it. You think he's even played an MMO? I don't even know if he's played an MMO. He probably played something. You remember Warhammer Online? Hang on a second. Hang on. Just look away a second, okay? I'm gonna go grab something really quick. Oh, fuck. Ugh. I'm gonna be right back. Just hang tight. I promise I'm not taking my pants off. Oh, man, where is it? Maybe I am a little bit. Here it is. No? Okay, hang on. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. Pull that shit out like that. There we go. Okay, check this shit out. This is like the only thing I've really got. This guy right here. Can you see that? It says WOG on it. This is really the only... I got 2 pieces of video game paraphernalia. I got this guy, and I got a shirt that I think is a Penny Arcade shirt that has like hearts on it or something. It was like a weird gift. I don't remember. But anyways, this is from Warhammer Online. This is a shirt from Warhammer Online. Fucking... This was a really cool looking game that they fucked up really bad. Basically, the guys that made Dark Age of Camelot, they were Mythic Entertainment. It had, I believe it had Richard Garriott at the helm. After Mythic Entertainment. Was it Richard Garriott? Yeah, I think it was Richard Garriott. It was the guy that made Tabula Rasa. That was a shit game. That was another shit MMO. He joined up with Mythic Entertainment after Dark Age of Camelot, and they released Warhammer Online. And this was supposed to be the second coming of PvP World, right? This was Jesus on the cross coming back, and it was going to be everything. It was the Warhammer universe, and it was going to have realm versus realm and huge PvP battles, right? So my dick was all fucking erect for this shit. And I played it, and I had a lot of fun playing a Marauder. And then I moved on to the Choppa when those guys came out. But man, by the end of my run with that game, I hated it. That game just, like, the balance in that game was terrible. They ruined it. The whole balance was awful. Like, I would play a class, I would play the Marauder, right? And the Marauder is this weird, corrupted person that has a mutated arm, right? And he hits people. You can change what your arm is. You can shift it from like a sword to a mace and some other shit, right? A hook or something. And it was cool because, like, if you had it as a hook, you could, like, CC people, you could grab people, you could stun them. If you had a blade, you did a lot of bleed, a lot of damage. And if you had the mace, you could do some other shit, too. It was more defensive, so you could kind of, like, get buffs from the mace weapon attacks and stuff. It was really cool. Unfortunately, it was a class designed to hurt people. The idea of the class is to actually smack a dude around and hurt them. But the game was designed so that you could never really hurt a dude too quickly. The damage ratio to health pool was ridiculous. It would take, like, I'm talking literally 3 to 5 minutes of beating on the softest target in the game. I'm talking like a mage. With no heals for either of us. It would take upwards of 2 to 3 minutes. It would take upwards of 2 and 3 minutes. For a mage, a fucking cloth, he's not supposed to have any health, and he's got no defense. I am the class that is supposed to destroy a mage. That is the rock, paper, scissors. That is how that's designed. It still took 2 or 3 minutes. Because they wanted the damage cap to be low. They wanted it really low so that everybody had a ton of health. And what happens when you have to take 5 minutes to kill anything? Somebody comes by and heals that fucking guy. All the fucking time. Every time I ever got into any scuffle at all, somebody would come by, either heal the guy, or it would be 2 against 1, and I would fucking die. Because there's nothing you can do. I wanted my hit and run tactics from Dark Age of Camelot back. But I could never get them in Warhammer. They just wouldn't do it. Anyways, I bought this shirt at the height of the funsies. I played a Choppa. So, I naturally had to get a fucking work on that shit. Anyways, I don't know. It was a cool game, but this is the only actual video game thing I have that's, an article of clothing. Sounds like BDO. I guess I wouldn't like BDO. That's fucked up. Oh, Jesus. Gotta upload this lore to the YouTube. Yeah, I'll probably cut it up and set it up there. Man, that was nice. That was a nice chat, Tulin. You're pretty much a stand-up guy. You're a pretty swell fella. Don't let those bullies over there in Ash's channel say anyways. Don't let them ban you for no reason. Tell them to go fuck themselves. That's a good reason to get you banned. But other than that, that's good shit. Man, I'm tired. Is there anything else you want to talk about before I'm out of here? It's 6 o'clock. I think we wasted plenty of time. I streamed for 4.5 hours here, and I think I did 4.5 hours before the stream went down. So we got like a 9-hour stream today. That's some cool lore, Mr. Thire. Damn. It is a pretty dope name, though, right? Lothire? I think it's pretty dope. I like it a lot. I don't know. Before that, you ever play Tenchu? Stealth Assassins? The second one? Tenchu Stealth Assassins? I played that game, and I used to use the online name Tatsumaru. He is the character for one of those games. Tatsumaru the Third. I don't know why I thought the third was hilarious, but yeah, I used to use that name. And then I played Dark Age and came up with this name. And I'm like, oh, Lothire. I like that. That's a cool name. It's pretty dope. I never really thought of it back then, though. I also don't really know what to think about, like, gamer IDs, right? It's weird.